Alrighty, so today we're going to talk about the Philadelphia Union in the season preview. So, as I said before, when I talk about them in the moving forward series not long ago, you would have thought that for a team that won the Supporter Shield last year, that maybe this offseason they'll continue to add some pieces to make the team much better, and that all of a sudden the window of competitiveness looks like it's wide open again for the Union. And although there's no doubt that I think the championship window is open again after we thought that it was slammed shut just a couple of years ago when they were dismantling the core. That's been kind of the thing that they're still doing this offseason. This offseason, it seems like they are still moving on from some of their old core pieces. It's pretty clear that it feels like Bradley Cornell and this team really wants to build themselves a new core and basically hope that this new core will get them over the top. So yeah, we had some key departure this offseason. They of course added a couple pieces, but for the most part, they're looking to try to get themselves back to be an MLS Cup contender as soon as next year, and that this team could essentially be in good shape of one to again finish near the top in the Eastern Conference. Now that being said, last season they did finish with a 26-8 record and finished with 66 points. Of course, they won the Supporters Shield last year, which is something that I don't think any fans thought that they were going to be the team. I mean, I don't, or win the Supporters Shield, and I don't think any Union fans thought that they would have won the Supporters Shield. Especially last year was supposed to be a transitional year for them, and they only went all the way to win the Supporters Shield. But they eventually didn't really get too far into the playoffs. They were eliminated by NYCFC in the second round. So once again, still unable to get it over the hump when it comes to the playoffs. Though last year, I think when you look at expectation compared to previous season, especially with them kind of heading through a transitional year, I mean, you would say that if you're a Union fan, the expectation of them making it to the second round and ultimately getting eliminated isn't as bad as what we've seen in previous year, which that's kind of seems like it was a failure because of them being in the midst of a championship window as well. So their last playoff appearance is 2025, and again, they're still chasing that elusive first ever MLS Cup. They made a lot of runs in the playoffs in recent years, but just never able to do so and get over the hump. And looking at the last five season, they finished last season, as I mentioned, 26-8 and finished with 66 points, but they were eliminated by NYCFC in the second round. In 2024, they finished 9, 10, and 15, and this was really kind of the beginning of the old core. This is when they kind of realized that I think it's time to dismantle the old core and start to go through a transitional period. And they miss out on the playoffs, which has been a very rare thing for the Union. It's hard to believe this team used to be a team that when they started their life in MLS, it hasn't really kind of gone so well for them regularly missing out on the playoffs, but that's kind of been a rare sight for this Union team. They've always tends to make it to the playoffs every single year, but 2024 was one of the rarity. And as I said, it was kind of the last gas when it comes to the core that they have. And when they realize that not only the core doesn't have it in them in terms of competing, but not even make it to the playoffs, this is kind of where start to see the dismantling we've seen in these last season and a half that they're doing. In 2023, they finished with 15, 10, and 9 record, finished with 55 points, or 55 points, that is, and they were eliminated by FC Cincinnati in the second round. And then 2022, 19, 10, and 5, and finished with 67 points. So what's kind of interesting is the fact that they actually finished more points in 2022 compared to 25, and in 2022 they didn't win the supporter shields. But yeah, 2022 was also a year that they came the closest in terms of winning MLS Cup. And when I say they came the closest, they were literally a couple of minutes of stoppage time away of winning that game. If it wasn't for Gareth Bell scoring that header goal, we would talk about the Philadelphia Union being the MLS Cup champion in 2022, and we would talk about them finally getting over the hump and not have this kind of narrative of them just not able to finally get conquer that MLS Cup mountaintop that they've been really wanted to conquer for almost a decade right now. In 2021, they finished with a 14, 12, and 8 record, finished with 54 points, but they were once again eliminated by NYCFC. Yeah, it's been a couple of times that NYCFC has been kind of been their nemesis in the playoffs, and in this sequence, they were eliminated by them in the Eastern Conference Final. Now, looking at some of the signings that they made, so the big signings that they made, this one actually was completed around while the season was still happening. But I'm just gonna count this as a winter transfer because of the fact that he didn't really play a single minutes with this team. But they complete the signing of Ezekiel Alador, and then this offseason they also brought a new center back as well in Josh Sari Larson, a guy that seems like he's going to be the direct replacement of Jacob Glesnes that they lost this offseason. Then they also got a couple of young guys. Finn Strom, a guy that have done well during his time in USL Championship with North Carolina FC most recently. And then they also got Caden Moore as well. By the way, with them getting Finn Sundstrom, I think they got him not only on a free transfer, but they pretty much got him mainly because North Carolina FC is pretty much dissolved heading in this season. So in many ways, they're just kind of picking up a player that is in the team that pretty much no longer exists. Now, looking at the players that is no longer on these team, there's definitely some high profile player that is no longer on this team. And again, this is part of some of the dismantling of the old core that they have. Guys like Ty Baribo, Kai Wagner, Jacob Lesnes, and Mikael Uru were all part of the old core that this team has that aren't able to get over the hump. Ty Baribo, of course, going to DC United for $4 million, which is a really big price that the Union was able to get him. And I know some Union fans will be a little bit disappointed the fact that they sell one of their top striker. But keep in mind the thing about Ty Baribo last season, while he definitely had a decent season when it comes to the goal scoring, most of them came in the first half of the season. He really kind of struggled as the season goes along. And when you're a team that want to make a playoff run, I mean, it's pretty clear that you want to have a guy that seems to feeling himself near the end of the season and heading to the playoff run and not go ice cold like what Ty Peribo has kind of been in his last two seasons. The Kai Wagner one is going to be the one that really sting, and we'll definitely talk more about that in just a bit. The fact that I think of all the big pieces that lost this off season, the Kai Wagner one is going to be the one that hurts the most, especially the way that they really miss his playmaking ability, and that I mentioned many times before. He's probably one of the best playmaking outside back and one of the best crosser in this league as well. They also lost Jacob Glesses, who's now going to the Galaxy, and they of course decided to not re-sign Mikael Uru, which is not a big surprise. But I think one thing I will say that's kind of made me a little surprised the fact that they decided to let go both of their number nine. I mean, I guess maybe the reason why they did this is because with the addition of Milan Ilaski last summer. It feels like maybe they realized the fact that the reason why Iloski didn't do well during his first couple of months with the Union is that they didn't really kind of play him as a natural nine like they did with San Diego FC. They kind of play him more as an attacking midfielder, and he's not really a playmaker. He's more of a true number nine, and that I think that's kind of the reason why the Union are confident in the fact that if they're gonna let go of Mikael Ru, they might as well just let go of Baribo as well. They don't really need too many number nines on their team at the same time. Other players no longer on this team is Oliver Salmon, Isaiah Lafort. Chris Donovan also no longer on this team, so a guy that has been with this Union team for quite a while. He's kind of another guy that I would say kind of a rare example of a Union player that came out of the academy and didn't really quite worked out when it comes to the potential. Usually, a lot of player that has high potential coming out of the academy turns out to do well with the team and eventually sell off for a huge amount of money. Christoph Donovan is definitely one of the rare cases where he just haven't really looked comfortable and now no longer on this team. They also let go of Ian Glinovich, a guy that feels like it was kind of a bit of a waste of signing last season. Play a couple of games, but then just got injured, and they decided to, not going to re-sign him on a permanent deal. Now, looking at the first five games for the Union, their first game is against DC United, so I'm pretty sure they must be very happy the fact that they're facing against DC for their home opener, or not the home opener. I'm sorry, but the road opener for them and their season opener, that is, because as we all know, whenever the Union play against DC, expect there's not only going to be a lot of goals, but yeah, the Union's probably going to score 4 or 5 goals past DC because that's just kind of how it's been. Then they return home for their home opener against NYCFC. Wow, that's a pretty juicy home opener, isn't it? Against a team that eliminates you in the playoffs in last year, and a chance for them to get some revenge in that match. Then they play against the San Jose Earthquakes at home before going on the road to play against Atlanta United, and then they return home to play against the Chicago Fire. So pretty heavy home start to the season. 3 out of the first 5 games is going to be at home. Look at the last 5 games. They play at home against Charlotte before remain at home against New England. Then they go on the road to face against Nashville before go on the road to face against Cincinnati. So those are two really tough road games. Consider those two teams are considered the teams that I predict will finish near the top of the Eastern Conference by the end of the season. And then their decision day game is against Toronto FC. Usually that seems like an easy game, but if you know anything about Toronto from last season, especially the second half of the season, and some of the improvement that have made. Yeah, this is definitely not going to be an easy team to face heading into this season. It's not going to be a layup like what we saw in the last first half of or the first half of last season. That is. Now, when it comes to the Concacaf Champions Cup first round match, they face against a team that probably have the best name I've ever seen with a Concacaf Champions Cup name. I mean, I always see a lot of these different teams, and some of these teams have some amazing names, but this one is just peak Concacaf level of names. I mean, I would have never thought that there would be a team called Defense Force, but that's going to be the team that they're going to be facing. And originally, I thought this was kind of a Jamaican team because we know that Jamaican teams tend to have some interesting names out there. But yeah, it turns out this is actually a Trinidad that team. So yeah, the Union they have a really long road trip because going all the way down to Trinidad and Tobago, very far away that is. That's going to be interesting to see how they'll deal with. But I expect they should be able to win against the Fans Force. I mean, it's not like we're gonna see something similar to what the U.S. did back in 2017 in Cuba, is it? But yeah, the first leg is gonna be on the road on February 18th, and then they return home for their second leg on February 26th against the Fans Force. Now, look at the strength of this team. It's gonna be the midfield and the defense. The defense, even with some of the pieces that they lost, I still think it's decent. I mean, the only weakness I would say on the defensive end is the fullback position, especially in the left back position, since they really haven't find the replacement of Kai Wagner just yet. But the midfield is really strong. With this team, you have arguably one of the best number 6 in Danny John Jack, and they also have Lukic last season who looked pretty decent in his first year with the Union as well. They also have some good depth in that midfield as well. The weakness, I think it's going to be the depth, especially in the fullback position. Again, they're a little short on the fullback position on this team. They only have 3 fullbacks on their team right now. Right now, the only natural left back they list is Frankie Westfield, and I have no doubt that I feel like Frankie Westfield will get some more minutes this season. But I I have heard that they also are thinking about putting Nathan Harriel on the left back position, even though that's not his natural position. And when it comes to try to replace Kyle Wagner, they would love ideally to have a guy that has a very similar pedigree as what he has, and unfortunately Nathan Harrio is not that kind of player. He's not really. I mean, more of a guy that's known for his crossing ability. Kind of, I wouldn't say he's more of a defensive minded fullback, but he's definitely not as adventurous going forward compared to what we see with Kyle Wagner. So yeah, that is going to be a position that they'll definitely have to address, which kind of perfectly transition in terms of the first big question that they have is the losses of Kyle Wagner. That is definitely huge, and that for a long time we've been talking about eventually of him getting sold off for a huge amount of money. I didn't expect the fact that this was going to be the trans window to do so. I would have assumed maybe they'll probably wait until the summer or maybe the next winter window. But yeah, now that they of course lost him and that they really haven't found a replacement for him, that is going to be something that Union fans are hoping that the team is able to do, because when you look at the roster and especially the premium roster spot, I mean, they have some flexibility. They open in that spot. They have a U22 spot open. They have 2 DP spot open as well in case if they're not going to use the U22 spot. So there's really not much excuse in terms of not spending that money. And also in terms of the game itself, they also have among the highest amount of general allocation money. So I think again, this is kind of the frustration with Union fans, the fact that as good as this team has been and as good as the team has really built that identity of promoting within the academy level, and also have done some really good smart signing in the past as well. ideally, I think Union fans are hoping that the front office sometimes maybe be a little bit more ambitious and maybe get a difference maker because of course I know the Union Foundation is very good with them really trusting the academy and also finding some hidden gem. But at the end of the day, if you want to be a team that is going to be compete the likes of Inter Miami, Nashville, or even Cincinnati, you need to have a difference maker. You need to really break the bank to get that difference maker, and the Union just haven't really quite shown that, and that's kind of the thing that kind of frustrates Union fans about the front office, and we'll see whether or not if they are going to do that in the near future as well. And then talk about the Union Academy and the pipeline that is. We always talk about how strong it is and it's among the best in the league. Well, we know that heading into this upcoming season, somebody's going to break out of the academy as well. And the big question is, who of course will be that player? I know a lot of people will point to Caven Sullivan, but I don't think Caven Sullivan is ready just yet. I think you should give him another year in MLS Next Pro. I mean, I know he has looked really good in MLS Next Pro and in many ways kind of dominate MLS Next Pro. But every time when he get called up by the Union and when he uh makes an appearance with the Union, especially coming off the bench, he hasn't really looked that good, and at times kind of overwhelmed as well. So I do think that you probably give him another year with Union too, and you also might give him some more minutes with the first team as well, and maybe really kind of push him to really started to show that raw potential that he has, because of course the hype train is definitely there. I mean, it's been a thing ever since he signed a first team contract, become one of the youngest player to able to do so, and with all the aspiration that he has. Don't forget, I think he's also joining Man City relatively soon as well once he turned 18. Yeah, there's a lot of potential that he of course will have, and we'll see whether or not if he of course will reach it, and especially maybe get another season in MLS Next Pro under the belt, and then the very next year, that's when we potentially could be seeing that breakout season we expect from Caven Sullivan. So look at the prediction of this team. So for high, I actually go with third in the standings. I know I said before that this could be a top three team, but when you look at the East right now, it's not only going to be an absolute bloodbath, but I do think that what I said about Miami and Nashville feels like those two teams might be among there, and Cincinnati as well. So after that, I mean, there's not really a lot you can say. I mean, when it comes to the talent wise, as much as I know this team does have talent, I mean, when it comes to just if you put this roster alongside with the likes of Nashville and Inter Miami, I do think that both Inter Miami and Nashville probably have a much stronger roster compared to the Union. So as a result, I'm going to predict them to finish third. And keep in mind, with them being in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, the longer they're in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, the more likely I don't think they're going to finish as high as they are in the standings, because we always see before where teams when they play in the CONCACAF Champions Cup, they tends to not do so well in league play, unless of course you're the Vancouver Whitecaps, which last season the Whitecaps were one of those rare situations where they were still doing well even though they had to battle CONCACAF Champions Cup and stuff like that. Now the lows, I'm gonna put them in ninth place. I know that sounds really low in terms of the floor as well, but one thing that I am worried about the Union is the fact that the loss of Kai Wagner, that's gonna be big, and especially the other concern I have is the fact that Bradley Cornell doing his second season with St. Louis was an absolute disaster. And while he did really well doing his first season, and the thing that he did with the Union was a little bit different than what we saw with St. Louis, where there was at least some sustainability. There wasn't really any time where it looks like this team ran out of gas, like what St. Louis did during his first season. I do still am a little concerned about that how his second season is going to look like. But again, it's mostly due to the fact that some of the key pieces that they lost this off season. It's not easy to go through another transitional period as the Union seems like they're going through, and definitely making a kind of a brave decision right now in terms of getting rid of some of their key pieces that's part of the old core, and right now really giving some of these guys that are probably going to be part of this new core that they're forming to once again open this championship window for a couple of years, just like what we saw under Jim Kern just about a couple of years ago as well. But there you have it. That is pretty much it. Looking at the Philadelphia Union in the season preview. As always, let me know in the comments below what do you think of this video. And if you're a Union fan, what do you think is the strength, weakness, free big question, and your prediction of how this team is going to look this coming season. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I will see you guys next time.